Hello. So yesterday I went to Leeds for the first time in England because I had my very first job assessment centre for a graduate role. For the last like five, maybe close to 6 months, my main focus is just to try and get a graduate job, and it's been tough, and leading up to this assessment centre. I was quite nervous. I typically see myself as an introvert, someone who is shy, someone who can be quiet at times. I know I'm capable of speaking and speaking well and being social and all of this stuff. Um, but it's not uncommon for me to be kind of like anxious about social situations. So I was a bit worried about this because there's a lot weighing on it. There's pressure. If I do well, then I have potential of achieving my goal of getting a graduate job. And I've been feeling a lot of pressure recently because it's been nearly a year and a half since I finished my degree, nearly 2 years. And I think after that point, it's going to get a lot harder to get a graduate job because why not employ someone who's just come out of uni, where all of the information is more fresh and stuff like that. I think it make I don't know. I just think it makes me look like not as good a candidate. So I think if I wasn't to get something this year, that idea worries me because I think it might just get harder. So there was a lot of pressure weighing on this. I do have another 4 or 5 assessment centers coming up, which is really, really good. But this is my first one. They booked me a hotel in Leeds, and that's why I went there the day before. It felt pretty cool, not gonna lie, to go to a hotel that I haven't paid for. Um, it made me feel pretty cool. I took the train up. It took me 5 hours. Most of that money is not covered. That cost £180 to get up there. So I was down money wise from this trip. Uh, so there's also that playing into it. So I go to Leeds. I'm feeling a bit nervous, and I go to bed and everything. I wake up in the morning, and my heart is racing. I'm like, holy shit, today is the day. I'm just overthinking, like, talking in front of people. What if I have to do presentations? Like, what if my mind goes blank? What if I go quiet? All of this stuff. I'm feeling pretty anxious, and I'm in the shower, and I ask the DJ on Spotify. I say, play me some hype music to get me confident. For this assessment center is my first one, so I'm in the shower just listening to just hype up music. Um, and then I go down for breakfast. We also got free breakfast down in the hotel, which is awesome. So I'm sat there eating my breakfast. I can't even eat that much because my tummy feels funny. Um, and I notice a guy, and he kind of he looks like he's just by himself, and he kind of looks my age as well. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy could be in the exact same position as me. He could be going to the exact same assessment center. And I was like, I could approach him. Maybe I should approach him, but does that look weird? And I was like, will that make someone else feel uncomfortable if they see me walk up to a random stranger? Maybe they will hope I'm not going to walk up to them. That was the kind of stuff that was going through my mind. And in hindsight, that sounds pretty silly. Um, but I think a big thing of kind of like social anxiety, a big thing about feeling anxious, especially for me, that I literally just realized yesterday, was that it's kind of a loop. So you feel anxious, and that means you don't do anything about it. You don't go and talk to that person. You might have a thought, I'd like to go and ask that person this thing, but then you get inside your head, you think, I can't do that. If maybe they'll think I'm silly, maybe they'll reject me, maybe they won't listen, maybe they'll ignore me, all of this stuff. And then you end up not doing it. And then that just feeds the cycle. You become more anxious about talking to others, and it just gets worse. You don't break the cycle. I broke that cycle yesterday. First thing, I thought about first thing in the morning at breakfast. I saw that guy. I finished up my breakfast, and I was like, you know what? What have I got to lose? I stood up. I went over to his table, and I said, "Hi. I noticed you were just by yourself. I'm also by myself. I'm going to an assessment center today. I just wondered if you were also going to one." And a matter of fact, he was, and it was the exact same one at the exact same time. Um, and I sat down and we spoke for 45 minutes, very, very like a conversation that flowed. I, 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 I think for me, social kind of lubrication, like, speaking to people makes you better at speaking to people, obviously. If I hadn't spoken to that guy and then I just went on to go to the assessment centre, having not spoken to anyone, I'm just going to feel more anxious because I'm not socially lubricated. I'm going to potentially be asked a question and then well, just be like, I haven't spoken since like the day before. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not in the zone for it at that time. So I was speaking to this guy and we were speaking about how we're feeling. I was asking him lots of questions. He was feeling a little bit nervous as well. We weren't really sure what to expect. We realized we were both doing different roles. We both studied different things at university. And that made me feel better. I made a friend. Someone else was feeling the same way. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me versus everyone else. Everyone else is on the same page. Even though we're kind of competing against each other, we're actually not, because especially with this guy, he's not doing the same course. So just this conversation with this guy, he was really nice, just made me feel so much better instantly. But I was still nervous, So after that, I went back up to my hotel room and I prepped my interview questions. I was applying for like a civil engineer role, which is what my degree is about. So I've had interviews for this kind of same position at other companies before, recently. So I've kind of got like my answers prepared. I've got my examples. So I kind of just researched a bit more about this company. Um, and I just like said a few of my questions out loud. And I also wrote some things down on paper for to bring into the actual interview, which to be honest, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But for me, it just made me feel like a little bit more prepared. I just had some bullet points for certain answers, some examples I could pull from. So I made that and then had to come downstairs, give my little like cards for the hotel back. And I met back up with that guy at the hotel lobby and we spoke a little bit more. We prepped a little bit together. But at that point, it was 2 hours until the assessment center. And I felt like if I just kept prepping, I'd get more in my head again about it. I didn't want to overthink. I kind of wanted to relax and feel ready about the assessment center. So we sat there for a little bit, spoke about other stuff, spoke about, where it turned out we don't even live that far away from each other. Well, we do, but it's in comparison to 5 hours away, it's not it's nowhere near that far. And then we decided to go for a bit of a walk. And then we didn't really know where the hell we were going. So I had an idea. I said, why don't we go into the building? So we were going to go into the building where we have the assessment center anyway, and we saw the building. So I said, right, let's go into the building and just ask someone where to go for half an hour because we've never been to Leeds before. So I go into the assessment center building, really big building, and I go to the receptionist, and that's what I say. I say, "Hi, I'm Tom. I've got an assessment center here in about an hour's time. So I've got about half an hour to see something cool in Leeds. I've never been here before. Have you got any suggestions?" And this person was so nice, and it made me feel so welcomed and good about, I've gone a bit out of my comfort zone. I've spoken to this random guy and it paid off. I've made a friend. It was awesome. And then I did it again. I spoke to the person at reception and it wasn't just like, I wasn't just like, "Hi, have you got any suggestions of where to go?" I spoke, I took my time because I knew that in the assessment center, I'm going to have to speak a lot more. So the more I speak to people, the more I kind of have that thought to speak and just do it. It's just going to make me feel so much better. And again, it paid off because this person was really nice, smiled a lot, thought it was obviously quite interested in what I was saying and genuinely thought about it. And she suggested just go to the canal because a lot of the other like main places I think in Leeds were quite far away for half an hour. Um, so yeah, we went for a little walk. That was nice. I was feeling really happy at that point. I felt like I'd done well that morning with the socialness. And then we went and got some lunch. We just went to a shop, and as I was going to pay, I just got a meal deal. I realized if I had like the club card, like the loyalty card, I would have saved money. So I just saw that as another opportunity to try and talk to someone. And so I just turned to my left and there's someone paying at the counter. We're just about to finish. And I say, "Oh, excuse me. Do you mind if I use your loyalty card by any chance?" And they were like, oh, absolutely. And they came over and they scanned it for me. And I was like, "Oh, thank you. Take care." No, no worries. No worries. Three great interactions, and suddenly my confidence is just through the roof. I feel like I can speak to anyone because all of these interactions I've had were so positive. My nerves have just gone out the window. I'm not nervous anymore. I'm excited, in fact. Well, my hand is bleeding a little bit. It's just a bit dry. Oh, more's coming up. I thought, not good. Not good. It's all right. Anyway, back to the story. So then I wanted to get a coffee just to make sure I had more energy before the assessment center, even though I probably had enough. So we went into the coffee shop and it was quite busy in there. It was really close to the assessment center. And I see two guys sat down and they looked quite, into what they were prepping for something. And I thought again, I wonder if they have also got an assessment center. Again, like I'm in the middle of a city. There's probably thousands and thousands of reasons why these guys might be prepping. But I just tried my luck. I was just like, "Oh, hey, excuse me, how are you doing? I'm just wondering, are you here for the assessment center?" And they were. They were. These guys were sat next to each other, but didn't know each other and didn't know they were both prepping. So I asked them both, and yeah, and then suddenly it's us four. So the guy I met at breakfast and the other two guys. We know each other's names. We know each other's courses. We're asking each other questions. We're all feeling a bit nervous. But suddenly, again, I've had four interactions. This is my fourth interaction with people, and it's gone well. There's now not there's barely a doubt in my mind that any social interaction is going to go bad. On top of that, I've just had an espresso. So for some reason, when I have coffee, my social skills just go through the roof. My energy, my alertness for conversation just is crazy. It's so good. I just got so much energy and social battery. So then a couple minutes, like 15 minutes later, it's time for the assessment center. We get there 10 minutes early. We're in the lobby. Suddenly this room starts filling up. It's about 40, maybe even 50 graduates in this room. And I don't want to say crazy, but I had all the confidence in the world in comparison to that morning when I was in the shower listening to hype music to take away those nerves. I felt unbeatable. I felt unstoppable. Anyone and everyone I could speak to. I went in there with these guys and I just went up to different people. I was like, "Oh, hi, how are you? I'm Tom. What course are you doing? How are you feeling for the assessment center? All of this stuff. Where are you from? Where is the location that you've applied for?" I did that to like quite a few people and they seemed so happy because they were also so nervous. So someone coming up to them and kind of, talking to them and yeah, again, it's all like that social lubrication. When you're nervous and you're speaking to other people in the same situation, it calms your nerves. So almost everyone was really happy to speak. It was just so cool. I had no nerves. If I had gone in there alone, not having spoken to anyone, I would have been in my head. I would have been afraid to approach one person, and I would have been thinking about, oh, how do I look? What do they think of me when I went to approach them? But that's not what happened. I was going up to people, wondering what they thought, wondering what was going on with them, and I was excited to hear what they had to say. It was a completely different headspace. And man, was I so prepared for this assessment center. And then I saw this guy that I met, well, not met, but one of the stages for this job. How long have I been speaking? 14 minutes. Okay. I saw a guy who was in a previous stage of this job application process. Um, Basically, before, it was like an online group exercise. We had to rate problems and like categorize them into rebirth stages of a construction site. And I saw this guy, and I was like, "No way! Were you in um this group project? You doing civil engineering?" And he was. I can't believe it. He remembered me as well. So we were talking for a while, and I felt like I made so many friends. It was insane. I have never in my life been this social, and I just feel like I've cracked the code. It's all about just doing it. You know, just going out there and speaking to people and asking them questions, because the worst thing that can happen is they're not interested. And so what? Then you just, fair enough. You go and speak to someone else if you want to. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It was so much fun talking to all these people. Um, so yeah, now my confidence was just through the roof, higher socially than it's ever been before. We eventually get our name tags and go through the lobby, go on the lift, go upstairs. And at that point, we'd all kind of been split up a little bit into like kind of cohorts. I was in a group of like 20 people upstairs in like the lift lobby at this point. And I just started speaking to everyone at the exact same time. I shocked myself. I was like, what role has everyone applied for? And we just like then just went round in a circle. Like I was like the center of this circle. And I was like, "Oh right, that's awesome. Okay. What is going on?" I was just in my head like, "Holy fuck, I've just unlocked a new version of myself." I genuinely felt like a fucking leader. I felt unstoppable. Socially, I was just, man, I was a social butterfly yesterday. And the assessment center hadn't even begun. So just all of these social interactions just started building up and building up and compounding my confidence. And then it was time for the assessment center. The group task was we had a list of all of these traits that were were we had to rate these traits according to which would be we thought would be the most influential, and that was just it. So we had like 5 minutes to rate them ourselves, and then we had like 10 minutes to talk amongst. I think there was like 13 of us all on this long table about our ideas and stuff like that. And I was nervous. I had fear that when I would talk, my points wouldn't be good, or that my mind would go blank a little bit, and I still had that worry. But because of all this speaking, I didn't doubt myself when I spoke. I just spoke. I didn't overthink things. I just did it. A big thing for me, I think, was I really, because I was so outward focused. I was so focused on other people in a good way, not being inside my head. I felt like I was able to lead the group this time. I was able to. I started off. I was like, no one spoke for like a couple seconds, so I just started. I was like, okay, should we start from the top and just make our way down and kind of discuss where we all rated these things. At the same time, there's four people around us just like watching, assessing, writing stuff down about us. That was kind of scary, but you just got to try and like ignore that. So yeah, like I gave good reasons. I mean, normally speaking up in groups in front of like 13 people, that would scare me. That would normally scare me. I'm not gonna lie. It didn't scare me today, or yesterday even. It didn't scare me yesterday. And I was bringing, like, if I noticed someone was quiet, I would try and bring them into the conversation. I would go, hey, to this person, what do you think about the next one, or what do you think about our this current opinion or whatever. There was someone next to me, and I asked them a couple of times because they were kind of quiet. But when I did ask them, then they had a lot to say. So maybe it wasn't that they were nervous. It was maybe that they didn't know when the best time to talk was. So I felt like I did well. I felt like I did really well. Um, and then we had a presentation just before that, and that was given to us. And I put my hand up and asked a question. That it was just a simple question. There was just something on the board that I didn't understand, like an acronym, like a CDP or CPD or something like that. Not the thing that you have in drinks sometimes. Something about development. I just put my hand up. I said, "Excuse me, sorry. What does that mean?" And that would be something that would scare me normally because, I mean, I'm an adult now, but you do stuff like that and you remember being a kid and you being your kid self. And at times, like being a kid, I was quite shy sometimes and um, would be nervous to put my hand up and wouldn't do it a lot. So for me to do that felt so good. It felt so good. So then when it came to the interview, the final stage of the assessment center, I had no fear. I had absolutely no fear. I mean, I have had a lot of interview experience recently, so I was confident and had my notes that I brought in on the table. I just glanced at a few times. And because of all this social interaction, I was able to joke a little bit. I was able to say things that came into my mind. Um, you know, I was able to be not stressed and calm. I'm really, really proud of how yesterday went. And I felt like I learned so much about myself. Just breaking out of that loop of feeling anxious sometimes by just doing. You just go out and do it, and suddenly you've broken that loop and you feel so much better. And the fact that you've broken that loop gives you energy and it makes everything so much easier. You know, being, well, considering myself being an introvert and sometimes being anxious of social situations, which probably COVID did not help. It definitely did not help. Being locked in back in 2020 and not speaking to that many people, definitely didn't help. Feeling socially anxious and overthinking situations, having something to say but not saying it, and overthinking, should I say it or not, and then not saying it just makes everything worse. But just having a thought and just saying it, well, obviously if it's a stupid thought, maybe you shouldn't, but what I'm saying is, if you feel anxious about speaking, if you just go out there, you just start small, do something that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Speak to a random person, speak to someone in the shop and ask for their loyalty card. Speak to someone who is doing something similar to you, like who seems to be, I don't know an exact example, but for me it was being in that hotel room and noticing someone who I wondered if they were doing the same thing as me. Just go for it. Just go for it. Feel those nerves. Just do it anyway. Because then you break the cycle and then you feel great and then you can compound and you can keep going. And suddenly it's not scary anymore. Suddenly it's fun. So I learned a lot about myself yesterday and I really enjoyed that assessment center actually. It was a great opportunity for me. But not only that, I learned a lot about myself. And I'm actually really looking forward to these next assessment centers. I'm just going to have the exact same plan socially. I'm going to talk to as many people as possible. I'm going to warm up in that way. It's just going to put me in the right zone. So that's a bit of a story of what happened yesterday at my assessment center. I haven't heard back or anything. I won't hear back for a while. But I really hope I get the job. And I think honestly, I think I might have a decent chance. I think because of how it all went, and my confidence and removing my nerves. I think I really did the best I could yesterday. I really tried, and it all started the morning of, you know, but way before my assessment center. So yeah, I hope this is a good video. I hope you find some value in it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know. Subscribe. I know this is my second channel, but it's a place where I feel like I can just upload like random stuff like this now and again. But yeah, super tired. Got home very late last night, and then straight to work today. So thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.